The monkey didn't steal the hat to be funny. It happened in a blink, under the blazing circus lights, with drums pounding and thousands watching. The ringleader raised his red-trimmed hat for the finale cue, and a small brown monkey shot forward, ripped it from his hand, and scrambled up the ropes with a frantic shriek. The audience roared with laughter, thinking it was part of the act. But the monkey wasn't playing. He shook the hat wildly, jabbing it toward the shadows above the stage. His eyes were wide, urgent, terrified. The ringleader felt his stomach drop. He followed the monkey's trembling gesture, and froze. High in the rigging, tangled in a cord, a tiny kitten dangled by one paw. Its claws slipped. Its body twisted. One more second and it would fall. The monkey screeched again, stamping the beam. He hadn't stolen anything. He was sounding an alarm. The circus had trained its monkeys for years, tumbling, balancing, following every cue. They were the crowd's favorite act, playful and precise, never chaotic. But the monkeys weren't laughing. Two more climbed beside the first, chattering rapidly, pointing their tiny hands, urging him, pleading with him. This wasn't a trick gone wrong. This was a rescue that the monkeys couldn't perform alone. And the ringleader was the only one who understood it. The ringleader dropped his cane without thinking. Music blasted, spotlights spun, but all he heard was the frantic chattering above. The monkey scrambled along the rope, shaking it to keep the kitten alert. The tiny creature mewed, claws slipping on the braid. "Lower the lights," the ringleader shouted. No one reacted. They thought it was part of the act. So he climbed. He grabbed the nearest ladder built into the support pole and pulled himself upward. The crowd gasped, then quieted as they realized this wasn't choreographed. Halfway up, the rope jolted. The kitten slid. The monkey squeaked sharply, diving underneath it, bracing its small body to keep the kitten from falling. The ringleader's heart slammed against his ribs. "Hold on," he whispered, not sure who he was talking to. He reached the crossbeam. Rope lines swayed like spider webs in the dark. The monkey scrambled around him, guiding with tiny taps. "This way. Not that. Higher. Faster." Their urgency was unmistakable. He inched along the beam, balancing above the spotlight haze, until he reached the trembling bundle of fur. The kitten's claws were barely holding now. One paw hung loose. "I've got you," he murmured. He eased closer, arms stretched. The rope swayed again. The kitten slipped. The audience screamed. The ringleader lunged. His hand closed around the kitten's scruff just before it fell. He pulled it to his chest and pressed it close, feeling the rapid heartbeat thrum against his palm. The tent was silent except for the faint echo of circus music still playing somewhere below, out of place and absurd. Then the monkeys gathered around him on the beam, touching his shoulders, chirping softly. Relief, gratitude, something deeper. When he descended the ladder, the kitten cradled against his vest. The monkeys followed overhead like guardians. He stepped into the tiny spotlight on the stage, holding the kitten high enough for everyone to see. Not a performer. A life saved. For the first time in the circus's long history, 5,000 people sat in absolute, reverent silence. The silence held long after the ringleader's boots touched the floor. He stood center stage, the kitten curled against his chest, its tiny body still trembling from fear. Above him, the monkeys perched along the ropes and rigging, watching, not waiting for applause, not anticipating treats. Just watching him with the same intensity they had shown in their frantic rescue. The ringleader bowed his head. "You tried to tell me?" he whispered. One of the monkeys, the smallest, the one who had stolen his hat, climbed down the velvet curtain and approached him. Slowly. Cautiously. The way an equal approaches another equal. The ringleader knelt. The monkey gently placed the stolen hat at his feet. The crowd exhaled, a collective release of tension. Parents pulled their children closer. Performers peeked from behind curtains. Even the spotlight seemed to soften. He picked up the hat and held it out to the monkey. "Together?" he said. It placed a tiny hand on the brim. A quiet agreement. The moment shifted. No spectacle. No script. Just a man, a terrified kitten, and a group of animals who had tried desperately to make a human understand danger the only way they could. Then the ringleader turned to the audience. "She wasn't stealing," he said, voice carrying across the tent. "She was asking for help." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Shock, then awe, then something deeper. Respect. Lights dimmed. The music finally stopped. The entire circus paused, as if bowing to a truth older than performance. These animals were not props. Not toys. Not tricks. They were thinking, feeling beings who looked out for each other. And now, for him. He looked up at the monkeys again. They shifted closer, tails curled around the ropes, their bodies angled protectively over the ring. The ringleader stood tall, kitten safe in his arms. "This show," he said quietly, "belongs to all of us." The audience rose, not cheering, but standing in unified stillness. A standing ovation not for entertainment, but for empathy. And for the first time, the circus felt less like a show and more like a family. The tent emptied slowly, people speaking in hushed tones as they stepped into the night. No one rushed. No one pushed. It was as if the entire crowd was afraid to break whatever sacred thing had just happened inside. Back in the ring, the ringleader carried the kitten to the animal care tent. The monkeys followed behind him in a loose, curious procession, still alert, still protective. The youngest monkey kept close to his boots, occasionally reaching out to touch the kitten as if checking. "Is it still safe?" The ringleader crouched beside a warm crate lined with blankets and gently set the kitten down. It mewed once, curling into the soft fabric. The monkeys gathered around, chattering softly. He watched them for a long moment. Then he removed his hat and held it against his chest. "You saved her," he said. "Not me." The smallest monkey tapped the brim of the hat, then tapped his chest. A simple message, clear as speech. "We trust you now." A lump rose in his throat. Later that night, after the performers finished their chores and the lights dimmed, the monkeys climbed to their sleeping platforms. But instead of settling down, they gathered in one cluster above the ringleader's wagon, keeping quiet watch as he stroked the now sleeping kitten. They stayed until the last lantern went out. The next morning, when the crowd filed in for the matinee, something subtle had changed. The monkey's act wasn't just funny, it was harmonious. Precise. Confident. And when the ringleader stepped out in the center ring, the monkeys hopped down to stand beside him instead of behind him. The audience felt it instantly. This wasn't command. This was a partnership. And as applause finally filled the tent, the ringleader glanced up at the monkeys overhead. They weren't performing. They were family.